In this video, I'm going to cover the signal overview and the different parts of the subharmonicon. The oscillator section is right here in the middle. This sequence octave button and the lights that are associated with it, they're not a part of the oscillator section and don't have any effect on the oscillators. They're more a part of the sequencers. This quantize button and these lights, I actually think that those do have something to do with the oscillators. The layout here looks pretty cool, and I think putting the button and the lights there was an aesthetic design choice as opposed to a functional one. So just keep that in mind, that that's a part of the sequencer. I've heard some reviewers say that the sub has 6 oscillators, and while that's technically true, those reviews kind of confused me when I first got it. I don't think it's smart to think of it that way. When I play this instrument, I think of it as having 2 oscillators, each with 2 supporting oscillators or 2 subharmonic oscillators. To me, thinking of it in this way will make it much more approachable and easier to understand. As I said in the introduction, there are some advanced and unconventional approaches, and I mean just different approaches, which is what makes this such a deep and creative instrument. For the sake of learning, I'm going to explain things from the perspective of having 2 oscillators, VCO1 and VCO2. In this section, we have an oscillator control for each oscillator, and this controls the frequency of the oscillator, and frequency controls for the 2 sub-oscillators. We also have a switch on each side that chooses the waveform. So you'll notice when it's all the way up, it's a pulse wave. When it's all the way down, it's a saw wave. In the middle is something that's a little bit unique. What happens if you turn it to the middle is that VCO1 is a pulse wave, and the 2 sub-oscillators are saw waves. Sub 1 is normaled to provide pulse width modulation to the main oscillator. So below the oscillator section, we have the mixer section. And again, these buttons are more to do with the sequencer, and this is the quantize button. Those have to do with the oscillators. That's where you can set your quantizing, what tones the frequencies lock into. But here you can control the volume levels of VCO1, the 2 subharmonic oscillators, VCO2, and the 2 subharmonic oscillators associated with it. Over here we have our filter with cutoff, resonance, and envelope amount. These 4 knobs are the 2 envelopes, attack, decay, attack, decay. These 2 are for the filter, and these 2 are for the VCA. Over on this side, we have the sequencer up top. There's 2 sequencers, each with 4 steps, and you can assign those using these buttons. Sequencer 1 can only be assigned to VCO1, sequencer 2 can only be assigned to VCO2. And just below that, we have our rhythm generator, and below that, we have our tempo and transport controls. And of course, we have the patch bay all the way to the right. So there's a nice signal flow. It goes from transport controls and the sequencer and the rhythm giving information to the oscillators, which is controlled by the mixer, and then our sound modification over here, and just a nice left to right signal flow. So in the next video, I'm going to show you how to tune your instrument and get it all calibrated and set up and ready to go. And then after that, we'll dive into the oscillators and showing you how they work.